Who was the first Scottish emigrant to Canada? I've seen it written that the first European to touch the North American shoreline was when the Viking Eric the Red explored the area. Before deciding whether or not to land, they sent 2 Scottish slaves ashore. And when the Scots survived 24 hours without being attacked by man or beast, the Vikings followed. Now, I can't confirm the truth of that story, but there's a later tale of Henry Sinclair, the Prince of Orkney, an ancestor to the builder of Rosslyn Chapel. Apparently, he sailed west with some Venetian sailors and discovered the Americas before Christopher Columbus. Now that may or may not have been true, but I can confirm the journey of Alexander Fraser. So if you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen and ring the notification bell to be told when I upload new videos. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. Sandy Fraser was a schoolboy in Beaulieu on April the 16th, 1746. So for him, the 15-mile walk he was about to take would have seemed comfortable compared to some of the challenges to come. At the end of the walk, he found himself standing with other schoolboys, peering as a group out onto Drumossie Moor. He saw his clansmen line up against the Redcoat Army and Tarm Jirrick. Kin to the lords of Lovat, Sandy saw 2 of his brothers shot down that day on Culloden Field, to say nothing of members of his wider family. A year later in London, his clan chief would be the last person to be executed by beheading in Britain for his part in the Jacobite Rising. The 18th century saw the start of a wave of immigration from Scotland across the Atlantic. Now, this wasn't the clearances that would come later. Folks weren't yet being forced out of their homes, but being lured with promises of land. Land so good that you'd hear your children complain, "Oh, Mum, not milk and honey again." Speculators like John Pagan would obtain a grant of land from the Crown on condition that they populated the area with colonists who would clear and farm the land to grow a new colony. Now, the number of Scots in the market for milk and honey-soaked land was such that when he published adverts in the autumn 1772 editions of the Glasgow Journal and the Edinburgh Advertiser, Pagan was pretty sure that a never-to-be-repeated opportunity of a lifetime would fill the boat in days. The first 20 families to apply would get 150 acres for husband and wife and 50 more for each child and servant. Not only that, the 6p an acre fee was on the basis of buy now, pay later. And no doubt double club card points. All you had to fork out now was the price of the passage. Form an orderly queue, ladies and gentlemen. "26 years after watching his siblings fall at the Battle of Culloden, the first person to sign up for the scheme was Alexander Fraser. Now, let's be clear, I'm not suggesting that he was the first Scot to ever land in Canada. We've already covered possible candidates for that, and there were others from the time of the 1629 naming and colonisation of Nova Scotia. Oh, incidentally, I made a video about that. Just come back and click the link top right. Alexander Fraser was, however, the first to sign up for passage on the Hector, whose replica is undergoing work in the dry dock in Pictou today. The Hector was the first of a wave of ships that would open the floodgates to 100 years of vessels carrying people running to, running from, or expelled from landholdings in one side of the Atlantic or another. That's why the Hector's significant, and that is why Alexander Fraser, as its first, might be considered its most significant passenger. On the ship, Fraser was reunited with somebody that he'd met before. Alexander Cameron, who would settle here in the new Lochbroom, had been another one of the spectators who had stood watching tragedy unfold on Culloden Moor when they were boys. When they were delivered in a Canadian autumn, the land the milk and honey promised turned out to be a land of forest, wilderness and extreme cold, where no food would be provided over the winter unless the newly arrived got to work on the frozen land allocated to them. Now, I've recounted in another video the response of Donald MacDonald, Colin Douglas and Roderick Mackay to the situation that they found themselves in. If you want more detail, then you can click the link top right to see that video about possibly the most intrepid of the Highlanders who crossed in the Hector. Alexander Fraser took a different approach. He went up the eastern shores of Middle River and squatted on land that belonged to previous land speculators of the Philadelphia grant who had failed to lure people onto it. Now, before we go further, let me point out two things. Firstly, I think the indigenous Mi'kmaq might have some different ideas about who was squatting and who the land belonged to. Secondly, when I chatted with one of the local Gaelic-speaking Cape Bretoners on this trip, he pointed out that without Mi'kmaq and the help that they provided to his ancestors through their first winter, he would never have been here today. The New England settlers who had remained from the Philadelphia land grant had also survived with Mi'kmaq help. We can attribute success in this area today to the resolution of Scotsmen or the resilience of Highlanders. At least as much should be ascribed to the generosity of Indigenous peoples. Just like our settlers, this channel couldn't survive without the generosity of those who support through Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee donation platforms. So, if you can help support the channel and would like to get additional videos, early videos without YouTube advertising and other benefits, like the fact that as I travel North America, my Patreon members have my itinerary to organise meetups along the way. If you want to support through Patreon, then just click the link top right or in the description below. But back to Alexander Fraser's struggle. In Scotland, he'd been relatively comfortable, kin to the Lovat Frasers and married to a laird's daughter. Here, he faced hardship. Some examples are given in Donald Mackay's book, Scotland Farewell, the People of the Hector. In that, the family had to go to Truro to sell their labour. Alexander Fraser's son later told how he, as a boy, once walked the 40 miles to Truro carrying his little sister on his back. On the 3-day journey, the only food they had was the tail of an eel. One return from Truro, they brought seed potatoes, but no sooner were they buried for a future harvest than they had to be dug up again to feed empty bellies now. Another potato-related incident was when the cupboards were so bare that Alexander resorted to cutting down a birch tree to boil the buds for his family to eat. When there was no nourishment to be squeezed out of them, the well-born Fraser shamefully walked a distance to the harbour and in desperation dug up some potatoes an established settler had planted. When the religious-minded New Englander heard of the theft, he said that he thanked God the potatoes had been there to feed Fraser's family. Fraser's status as minor gentry back home didn't prevent his second son having to be bound out like many other young boys as an indentured servant in Truro. After a while, the family finally scraped together enough cash for a cow, and the eldest Fraser boy was sent to Truro to buy it. When he got to Truro, he met his younger brother, who was so desperate to get out of his indenture that young Alexander used the money intended for the cow to buy his brother's freedom. You can imagine the two young lads on their return. The younger brother sheepishly sending the older in first to respond to his mother's request of, "Well, have you got the cow?" "No," came the reply. "I bought my brother Simon instead." His mum smiled, saying, "Poor as I am, I'd rather see Simon than a cow." Another time, mother saw the depths of the children's hunger and killed the only laying hen because there was nothing else to eat. They had no salt, so they boiled it in salt water from the sea as seasoning. With no vegetables, she used herbs from the forest that the natives had assured them were trustworthy. Needless to say, they were soon hungry again, and the cycle continued. You wouldn't think to look along Fraser Road today in a Canadian spring, but back then the winters were harsh and long. However good your trousers are, they're useless without 2 pairs of stockings and hair-lined moccasins tightly laced with thongs. If I'm not careful, my nose and lips freeze, and my ears are always in danger from the north wind with its biting bitterness. But they struggled on, dressed in homespun clothing like their New England neighbours elsewhere in the area. But on special occasions, they wore the kilt, a freedom denied to the Highlanders who'd remained in Scotland, unless they joined the British Army. Slowly but surely, the Frasers made headway. They learned fishing, forestry and hunting in a new environment. They cleared and cultivated land with axe and spade, foothoe and sickle. They first harvested a crop of potatoes that could feed the family, then enough surplus to carry on their backs to market. They reaped some oats and replanted till eventually they had enough for porridge. Shellfish from the harbour and salmon from the river, and little by little they made this place work. All the way along, receiving advice from natives and more established settlers alike. Others settled around them. Donald MacDonald, Colin Douglas, Alexander Ross from near Ullapool, James MacLeod from Sutherland and Kenneth Fraser. As the 1770s came to a close, other countrymen, veterans from the recent war against colonial rebels, started to arrive around these parts, fleeing persecution in the new country of the United States of America. This area became overwhelmingly Scottish. The community requested Gaelic-speaking Presbyterian ministers from Scotland. A monument on the other side of the bay marks the place where a first sermon was preached. The Reverend MacGregor, who later led services in a wooden church like this one, was followed by the Reverend McCulloch, whose school transformed the life and children's education of this Scots community and provided an educational foundation that impacted the breadth of Nova Scotia. Ultimately, Alexander Fraser obtained a land grant with his family of more than 500 acres. No longer a squatter, but a landholder. Alexander Fraser, kin to the Lovett Frasers, who witnessed Culloden as a boy, was the first to risk a future and sign up to a crossing on the Hector. When he got here, he refused to be cowed by the land speculators, choosing perseverance over pangs of hunger. Now he'd achieved an independence that he could never have enjoyed in Beauly. On September the 24th, 1803, Alexander Fraser died at the age of 75. He'd seen his wife deliver 7 children. 2 of his 5 sons were born at Pictou. They were Canadian Scots, for whom he'd built a new future. But even as we commemorate him, I'm reminded of Angus MacLeod, the Gaelic teacher that I met in Cape Breton, who rightly asserted that if it wasn't for the help that native Mi'kmaq gave his ancestors, he wouldn't be here today. I've made videos about other Scots pioneers. There are some fantastic stories of courage, heroism, and some dodgy stuff too. There's one coming up on screen now. You really should watch it. The channel really doesn't survive without your support, so help the channel by clicking top right to become a Patreon member or buy me a coffee in the description below. Hameen Dochas can be Lama life. Cherry and Drasta.